Hi Tea Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we are checking out Sana's Identity Studio Choom fan cam because I promised I would come back to this, and also we need to celebrate her birthday, and I think what better way to do that than to watch this fan cam. Definitely is not for purely selfish reasons of wanting to see this on my part or yours. Hey, we are here to celebrate Sana and what a great performer she is for her birthday. And this just seems like the right way to go with. So maybe I'm ready. I'm probably not though. Let's just be honest. I still haven't recovered from this one. Oh, it's fine. I brought this on myself. This is a decision made purely on my own merits. I feel like I kind of blocked out exactly what all this performance is. Dang, I'd be so worried of dropping her. Ooh, she clocked that camera quick. Did you see that? Like she was looking forward and then switched right over. She's really good at that. Clocking her eyeline. Yeah. Reset. Ooh, really good there. I didn't notice that when she gets into kind of the formation for this line, because obviously we're focusing on like Mina for that part, that she has to like get her mark and everyone kind of lines up around her, right? So that's like, obviously they probably have like their own mark as well, but still like they're still going to be kind of gauging where they're at to line up with her, right? Because she's like one of the focal points as one of the main performers. So even if like she's a little bit off, I feel like the dancers are gonna have to like line up with her anyway to like make the formation, as opposed to like just hitting the mark, right? I'm sorry, there's a lot to be watching at this part. She just has like a slight smile on her face. The dance move. Look, I'm gonna rewind for science. Because this move. The shoulders just... Look, I'm also gonna rewind for science. You know why. Dang, that's strut. But she has a move. Wow, that's a lot of ground to cover, because she's going from like I didn't notice either, because again, watching through this performance, even with like the steady cam, like there's certain focal points that you're supposed to be looking at, right? And when Momo is performing, we're supposed to be focused on Momo. The amount of ground she has to cover, like obviously I'm like, oh, she's like kind of strutting. There's like a certain aesthetic way that she's walking to formation, but she has to like not only go from front, like downstage to upstage, and then like do her part, but also she has to like go around the formation, right? Like she can't just like back up. So that's a lot of ground that she has to cover, and she's like moving fast because she has to get to her mark on time. Dang. But also like make it look right if people are focusing on her during a performance, right? Like walk forward and then walk back again and set up for this part. Ooh, wait, that was a cut there, wasn't there? Which is fine, but like I usually can't spot them with Studio Choom. Wow, she's like swung back there. Look, I know that I'm interrupting, but also like, can we just talk about how the fact that throughout this whole thing, I'm like, she hasn't had a moment of like, ugh, hair, because the amount of like movement, and she just has like her hair down. Like usually you get some point where they're just like, gosh. She's like, nah. Gravity would never do that. I mean, like a little bit there, I guess, but like, catch your breath, hold the pose. I mean, I know they're just like advertising to me, but I'm gonna keep watching. I know this is still going and we're gonna just keep watching, but like, can we talk like this choreo? I feel like there's like a certain vibe, right? When you first watch it, and you can watch my reaction to that as it's on the channel, but there's like a certain vibe that you get from this choreo, but then also there's just like a lot going on. Like there's a lot of switching in and out of formations and like covering ground, right? Like and again, me just saying like, oh wow, she's covering a lot of ground. She's getting to the mark. Things are being lined up based on like where she's at. So she's like the first one to kind of line up a formation. So there's like a lot of like kind of precision to that, like being where you need to be and covering a ton of ground as you kind of like move through. Like the one where she went all the way around, moved like to the like upstage, moved back down to be part of the formation, crossed over, and then went around back again to get to her mark. Like that's like a huge like S shape that she had to go like almost like figure eight throughout the whole formation in the span of like what, 30 seconds? That's wild. At a part where she's not the focus point of any of that part of the performance. That's a ton of ground that you have to cover and be in the right spot at the right time, even without like putting in the fact that you're doing choreo around it, right? Which is already like a physical demand. And she's like very, very good at spotting cameras. I mentioned it in the actual performance of her like correcting her eyeline. And some of that is like if there are multiple cameras. Sometimes she's looking at like the fan cam, sometimes she's looking at the main camera, you know, like there's sometimes she's looking at like the focus camera that's like zooming in on her face. Sometimes she's focusing on like the steady cam, right? There's multiple cameras for like multiple shots that we're getting here. So obviously she's kind of having to switch her eyeline around depending on which camera she's kind of performing to, but she's very good at correcting for it. Like when her part comes and she knows there's going to be like a close-up on her face, she clocks where that camera is. She's really good at it. I would love to see more performances of her like in a live stage where there are again like multiple cameras for like a broadcast or something, just to kind of see how well she kind of keeps track of that, because she's good. I'm gonna let it play out though. Even in black and white, this part, you can see her kind of speed up there too. She's like, oh, I get my spot. But she does it well. Like that's again, like props to her, especially since I was kind of looking a little bit to look at the floor, because usually when you're getting to your mark, if you're performing on a stage, you tape up the stage. At least that's my experience. But that's also performing on a stage where you know that you're performing in the same place for like a whole run. And if you're doing touring around even, you'll see they've like taped up the stage because you go through all of the like rehearsals and like blocking and stuff. That's what a bunch of the rehearsals are, like the day leading up to the performance that night, right? But you'll see like tape, and I'm like, I don't know if they've taped up the floor, because there's a bunch of shots where you can see the floor, or if they have, I don't really know how it works with Studio Choom in terms of that, but if they have taped it up, it has to be in a way that like it doesn't show up on camera super well, or they've like edited it out. Like Studio Choom is great at doing a bunch of editing afterwards. So I was kind of, you can see like scuff marks on the floor, but I'm like, that's just because it's like a white floor, and if you've been running through the same choreo a bunch of times, that's inevitably going to happen. Depending on how they've marked it, her getting to her mark at the right spot is like, again, like gauging from like where everyone else is. So you have to make sure that you're in the right spot, because other people are also going to be gauging where they need to be based on you. Again, if you're one of the main performers, even if you're like a little bit off, they're like, we have to put this formation straight around this person, right? Like we have to make sure that this formation is balanced the right way based on where this main performer is, because they're the main performer. That's part of your job as like backup dancers and ensemble. And I say that as somebody who had to do that. I have done that job. That's wild. Again, like great performance, great kind of like aura that she has throughout the whole thing, but also just like little performance details that I didn't get to notice in the other watch throughs because, you know, there's a lot happening. I mean, I feel like this is just in line with all of the times that I have done something that is Sana focused, in that she always manages somehow to add a new layer of admiration that I have for her as a performer, whether that's like her voice and what she's putting into it, or the actual performance of like stage presence or choreo or whatever, which is wild because, like, look, I love Sana anyway. I feel like anyone who's watched any of my Twice reactions knows that just something happens. She comes on screen and I melt. And from what I've seen in the comments, that is just the way life is, okay? The sky is blue, gravity pulls things down, we all melt for Sana. It's just the way of the world. And that is, you know, kind of like a given. I know when I'm going to be watching something that is focused on her, that I'm obviously going to enjoy it and it's going to be a good time. And she's, you know, been performing long enough that it's going to be a good performance. But she always manages to like add another layer. I'm like, she really is a good performer. She's very good. And I just feel like that's not something that I heard a whole lot of in general from like fans before getting into Twice. But I do feel like there's a lot of idols that are like, yeah, she's a good performer, have like a lot of admiration for her, which I think like says something. I can think of several idols like in the business who have specifically talked about her being like a good performer, or like being very good at like performing to camera or to audiences and stuff like that, having like the charisma. I knew I was gonna enjoy this, and maybe I focused a little bit more on some of the detailed things just to like save my own sanity. But I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click let's play against my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to me next time I post a Twice reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.